Yo, what's up guys, it's Talon, and today I'm just going to be talking about whether or not you should play solo queue, duo queue, trio, 5-man, whatever in ranked. The reason that I'm talking about this topic is mostly due to the fact that I played duo for the first time in about 7-8 months. Obviously the last couple seasons we were solo queue to rank 1 2 seasons ago, and then last season solo queue to 5-role sovereign on 5 different accounts. So I haven't really played a lot of duo queue lately, or trio or 5-man or anything. So I'm going to talk about the differences between them all, strengths and weaknesses of them, and basically like what you would want to do based on your own thing. So I'm duo with the Ezreal here. The Ezreal is a pretty common viewer in my streams. Her name is Denise. If you don't know who that, or if you watch my streams, you might know her. And funnily enough, she didn't load in at the start of the game because of the 94% glitch, and their ADC also didn't load in at the start of the game. But either way, we're not really going to be talking about the gameplay. We're just going to talk about the differences. So initially, solo queue. Obviously, solo queue is what I've played the most of. It's nice when you're playing kind of solo carry champions, like when you're playing champions that aren't very reliant on your team. So if you don't know how it works, basically, you're always going to have an even number of like duo, trio, 5-man, solo queue in your game. So if you're a solo queue, you can match against duos and trios, but if you're against a trio, you're going to have a trio on your team. If you're against 2 duo queues, you're going to have 2 duo queues on your team. Now, they could be different roles or different ranks or whatever, but they're always going to be the same amount. So if you're playing solo queue, you're more likely to match against more solo queue people, obviously, which kind of makes for less coordination in the games. Like, it's less common that if you play solo queue, you're going to be playing against a bunch of people who have played together over and over and over again. Whereas if you play trio or 5-man, you might more often run into people who play together all the time, and you are a lot more coordinated. You might run into a lot more duo queue bot lanes or mid jungle duos playing actual, synergistic combos and whatnot. So basically, the initial thing is the quality of the games will be slightly higher in duo or trio or 5-man compared to solo, because there will be more coordination. Now, the reality is almost everyone sucks at Wild Rift. So even if you're playing against duos or trios in Master players are very, very lacking in terms of game knowledge regardless. So they're not going to play that well just because they do, they are duo. Or, obviously if you're like silver, or probably not silver, you're probably like, let's say, you're diamond, you're going to be playing against other diamonds. So they're still not going to be that coordinated, even if they're trio or 5-man, whatever. If you get into like the Challenger Sovereign, that's where now maybe you're going to be playing against some decent enough duos and trios who kind of have more coordination, and that's where the game quality actually goes higher. So I would say duo and trio 5-man game quality at the very highest ranks is a lot higher compared to the solo queue quality, whereas the solo queue quality and the difference between solo queue and other in, the more like mid and low elos is a lot less. So there's a bigger difference in quality and gameplay the higher rank you go based on playing duo, trio, 5-man. So basically what this means is, if you want the highest possible quality games, you're going to probably want to play duo, trio, 5-man, but that's going to come with a few qualifiers. So initially, if you're just better than all your friends or all the people you have added, you don't necessarily want to play with people who are worse than you, because then, like, let's say I'm duo and I'm against 2 people who, let's say, like if you played like FIFA or Madden or 2K or whatever, the ratings, go from 0 to 99. So if you're rated as a 0, you're the worst. If you're rated 99, you're like the best, right? Say that you're playing against 2 people who are 80 overall, right? And you're a 90 and your teammate's a 70. Well, you guys are going to be pretty equal. But let's say you're playing solo queue and you're a 90, and then you match against solo queue 80s. You're going to obviously climb higher. So like the point is, if your friends are a lot worse than you, probably not ideal to play duo or trio or 5-man with them, because you're kind of going to be the one carrying. Then you might play against multiple enemies who are worse than you but better than your teammates, and because of that you lose. Whereas if you're playing solo queue, you're not going to match against as many coordinated people, so you're going to have a better time. So then there's also the thing of finding duos, trios, 5-mans. A lot of times you can play solo queue and then add people from a game that do well, that you play well with. Say you play Thresh and you get a Draven on your team and you and him absolutely stomp lane. Maybe add him and continue to play it more. So you can play solo queue with the purpose of finding a duo, just add the people who play well and eventually kind of find someone. Because obviously not everyone is a streamer who can have a decent amount of people to find to play with. Like, obviously I can find probably a decent amount more people to play with compared to a lot of you guys. But again, adding people through your games allows you to find people of similar skill levels that you gel well with, and you just play solo queue kind of until you find those people. So far, basically, we've established solo queue, better if you're a lot better than your friends, but lower quality games, and worse if your friends are as good as you, or obviously if your friends are better than you. The other kind of thing is, well, some people just like are sort of stubborn and they want to play solo. Like the reason I played solo queue for these last 2 seasons, and the reason I play so much solo queue, is so I can prove to my viewers, like, hey, I, can climb solo queue. That means you can. You can't use the excuse of like, oh, he's just playing, duo or trio. And it's like, for example, you watch, like, say, I'll just take 2, like, a lot of people know Royal. Like, say I played with Royal in duo a lot, and then I climbed really, really high. People would be like, yeah, you climbed high, but you played with Royal. I can't play with Royal. I'm a random viewer. Royal doesn't know me. I'm never going to be able to duo with him. So the reason I play solo queue is like I want to show people like it doesn't matter. Like you can climb solo. Obviously, I've kind of done that at this point. And so there's also the like stress factor, right? Like it's less fun sometimes to play solo queue, but it's also more rewarding. So like you'll feel more frustrated when you lose a game because, more things are out of your control. You can't really control your teammates or whatever. I need to take a sip of water. I don't know what was happening to my throat. Either way, you can't control as much in solo queue, so it can be more frustrating. Whereas when you're playing duo, you kind of have someone to rely on, but it's less satisfying. A lot of people kind of, tell me how they feel like they don't deserve their rank as much as if they played duo. Now the reality is, I don't know what happened to my screen here. Okay. I think it's fine now. I don't know, but the reality is, like, yes, playing solo queue and climbing in solo queue is overall going to be more impressive than climbing in duo or trio. So if you're purely concerned with like optics or proving something to yourself, it makes a lot of sense to play solo queue. If you're trying to have fun or enjoy the game with your friends, you want higher quality games or anything like that, playing duo queue, trio queue, 5-man can make a lot of sense. So again, the reason I'm making this video, I kind of feel like playing some duo or trio in the future because we played so much solo queue. I thought it could be kind of a fun, different thing to do. Because I haven't been having as much fun with the game lately, and when you're not having fun, usually good to switch something up rather than keep doing the same thing over and over and over again. And that's generally, it just makes sense, right? You don't want to just keep doing the same thing when you don't, enjoy it. So that's generally the main thing I wanted to talk about in this video. A lot of people ask me this question quite frequently. What should I play? Should I play duo? Should I play 5-man? In terms of climbing, you're going to be able to climb in any mode if you're good. Like, at the end of the day, climbing in solo queue, that is where I can be like, yes, you climbed solo queue, you definitely deserve your rank. Whereas I've definitely seen people who are, I would say especially people who play very supportive style champions, tanks, or enchanters, or certain things that are more team reliant. There's kind of 2 sides to it. One, sometimes you can be like, oh, they don't deserve their rank. They're just like a Yuumi following around, their carry jungle. And that's certainly like a thing people can consider. But also, what if you enjoy enchanters or you enjoy tanks? Very, very hard to play those types of champions in solo queue, right? So another factor is that, like, do you want to play champions that are more team reliant? If so, you probably don't want to play a bunch of, Ornn top lane solo queue over and over and over again. Whereas if you're playing, Fiora top lane, maybe solo queue is not going to feel as bad in that situation, just because obviously you're, having the ability to hard carry a bit more. So there's definitely that factor to consider as well. Is my champion really good for solo queue? There's definitely good and bad solo queue champions as a whole. Generally champions with, more damage output, more ability to make plays and engage. Those are usually the better solo queue champions. Usually the worst ones are the ones who are lacking in damage or lacking in playmaking potential. So for example, people might think assassins are really, really good for solo queue, and in some ways they definitely are. But assassins can lack that engage, where if you're playing an assassin and you have your friend duo queuing Vi jungle or Thresh support, all of a sudden you have a lot more plays being made for you as an assassin. It's a lot better. Whereas if I'm playing a bruiser, like say I'm playing Vi jungle can do damage and can make engages. So it's very good for solo queue. So understanding that as well, like do the champions I want to play or I enjoy playing fit solo queue well? Definitely an important factor. And at the end of the day, if you win, you win. So like a lot of people also, again, they tell me they have this concern. I do feel like it especially happens to girls playing enchanters. You know, they definitely get flamed way more than they should, which is kind of cringe, but it happens. Where it's like they feel like, okay, well, I keep being, you know, told like I play enchanters with my friends and then I climb and people like flame me for it. You know, people get frustrated by that. At the end of the day, if you win, if you're doing a strategy that's winning, like that's what matters as it relates to climbing. Like if you go to like look at, you know, the past, for example, LEC, like a random example I can think of is when like Vetio, who was a mid laner for Misfits in LEC like a long time ago. LEC is the European League of Legends league. He got MVP playing Akali in their support. I forget their support's name, but he was playing Yuumi like a bunch that split. He like kept playing Yuumi. And so he's just sitting on his teammate and he's watching his, you know, Akali mid lane carry the game and get MVP in the split. But at the end of the day, they were one of the best teams in the league when they weren't expected to be, you know, based on their roster. And yet they perform really, really well. So like, at the end of the day, if you have a strategy that works, it doesn't matter if you're the one who's carrying or you're the one facilitating the carrying, even if it might be less skillful. Like, I would certainly say playing Yuumi is less skillful than playing Akali, but it doesn't mean like you have to feel bad about it or that people should be flamed for it, because that's literally the point of the game, is to try to find a way to win. And so if you're finding a way to win, whether it's solo queue playing Akali every game or whether it's duo queue playing Yuumi every game. Again, I might flame you for playing Yuumi because I do think that champion is cringe, don't get me wrong. But obviously it's all in good fun. But either way, do what's fun, do what works for you. Don't worry so much about what other people are considering, you know, or what other people view you as. If you do get more fulfillment from climbing by yourself, like I, for a long time, you know, kind of wanted that. Like I wanted to prove I can get rank 1, I can get everything that I've gotten solo queue. If you want to try to prove that to yourself or to others, that's totally fine. But also realize that at the end of the day, it's a game. You want to have fun with it. You can get sometimes more enjoyable gameplay from playing, you know, with others. And it can definitely lead to more coordination too. Again, more fun things. Like you can have actual combos. You can play Vi and Ahri together, you know, champions where you might not be able to. Or you can play Lucian Nami like over and over again. Whereas if you want to lock in Lucian and solo queue every game, you might randomly get a Sona and, you know, not be the happiest about it. So you have the ability to coordinate. You have the ability to rely on someone. Obviously, you can communicate with someone, play with your friends too. You know, God forbid someone makes friends as a Wild Rift player. I know it's scary. I understand, but it can happen, you know, believe it or not as well. And so overall, yeah, that's kind of the gist of this video. It's all I really wanted to talk about. I know I'm kind of rambling. I barely slept because for some reason people above me in my dorm room are making super, super loud noises all the time. So I don't really like that, but they do that and it's hard to sleep. So that's why I've been rambling and not really being super coherent. I think the point of this video is pretty clear at this point though. I hope you guys enjoyed. You know, catch my stream. I'll probably be playing some duo queue. You know, if anyone wants to duo with me. And I'll see you guys later.